Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at The Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place another.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am Debbie Heiser. I help entrepreneurs get really focused on what they want their life to look like and have the business be a conduit to that, because I see way too many people stressed out and burnt out because the business is running their life. And I love to look at the holistic piece of it and help you make a lot of money in the process. So I am here today with Helen Snell, and I'm excited for you and me to get to know her better. Helen and I met through an international networking group called FemCity. And we reciprocate, we talk about how we can support each other. And so I invited Helen on to the podcast, and I'm excited to get to know you better too, because we haven't had a chance really to talk a whole lot one-on-one. So Helen, I'm going to turn it over to you and have you introduce yourself and how you show up in service to the world.
So I'm going to start with the things that mean more to me, which is outside of my business. I'm a mom of three. I'm a dog mom of three. And those six pretty much run my life. and I do fit my business around that. So my story of coming into being a communication coach and an expert storyteller, offering content, ghostwriting, copywriting, all of those kinds of things, all revolved around the fact that I had to build a career around my kids. And so that's who I am.
That's so awesome. And so tell us a little bit about your past. So like age range of your kids, and like you raised them, were you working during that time? Like what got you into this like particular space that you're in? I know like entrepreneurship was to help with the flexibility, which is frankly one of the most awesome things I think too about having your own business. But like what got you into doing the communication piece of it? Why that?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I worked in the corporate world when my first two were born. I kind of shifted to still be working for someone else, but it was more geared around, being closer to home and not traveling and being away and all those kinds of things. And then when my third was born, it happened to be a time in my life where my mom was actually quite ill, and my youngest daughter was born with Down syndrome. And that was a little bit of a wake-up call to say, you know what, you need to spend the time with the people that matter to you. And so that kind of changed my whole journey from that I need to strive and, corporate trajectory and all those kinds of things. And the communication piece really came out of, it's an interesting story. I didn't have this realization until a couple of years ago that when my daughter was young, she struggled with communication. And so we learned sign language. She had some, still does actually, some unique speech characteristics. Other people couldn't understand her. And even in the way she learned, I had to really break every piece of communication down to its most finite form in order to help her thrive. And I realized that that was such a joy for me in undoing all of the things that we just kind of take for granted. And so that started my journey in entrepreneurship and towards learning more about communication and sharing that with the world.
Oh, I love that. That touched my heart. Thank you for sharing that. And so Helen, if you like as you got into business, you're raising children, you live in outside of Ottawa, right? Small town girls, go. And that's right. And so when you think about where you were at having three children, you're now changed your trajectory. And I love that story, right? About how helping your daughter with communication, like then kind of took you into this route. And I don't know about you, but when we have these like moments in life where we rethink what we're doing. I just think there's such growth there. And for me, it's almost like a reset when that happens. And that's what I heard you kind of saying too. And so as you progressed forward, like tell us what you help people do. Like what is it that you do?
Sure. So I'm going to be even a little bit more detailed with another. There's always different reset moments in our lives.
Oh yeah.
And the one that really changed everything for me, including where I now live, because I only moved here a year and a half ago, but
Okay.
that's been a journey as well, was unfortunately becoming divorced. And so that whole idea of flexibility and being available for my kids and actually still trying to make money, right,
Yeah.
was a real challenge. And so the whole idea of communication for me is it started with my wanting to write blogs,
Mhm.
ghostwrite stories for people. But I realized that it's an investment, it's a trust, and you need to kind of build the stepping stones to get people to actually say, hey, I want you to ghostwrite my book. You know, it's several $1,000s. It's going to take us 6 months or whatever. And so it was this journey of learning more about storytelling, learning more about communication. And what I now provide people is everything from kind of, I say, do it yourself to VIP, final expertise in prepared content, depending on where you're at in your journey. One of the things I love to do is learn. And as part of that, I also love to teach. So I have little workshops on learning business storytelling, learning communication mastery. And what I can provide for people is the basis to get them started on the journey themselves, or I can provide the content for you to maximize your reach with your content through story creation, through again, like a maximized language that I can use to help you reach the most audience. And that all began with understanding how to communicate with the world and understanding my own story, which was actually the growth of my business, is realizing that I had to stand up and be my own story first.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you had to stand up and be your own story first. And so, Helen, I take me through like the process because I'm kind of hearing two different things here, where one is that you help businesses with content, with telling their story in whatever modality that is, right? I'm sure you have some recommendations on modalities too, but like helping them kind of build that story. I know I just finished reading a while back this book called The Vivid Vision, and now I'm taking my masterminds through that process and creating a 3-year vision, which is more of a story component to it versus like a business plan, right? And kind of really understanding and being able to tell the story so that people understand what your business stands for, who you are, how you serve the world, how you make money, all of those things, right? And but then I'm also hearing the ghostwriting piece of it. So which one do you prefer? I guess
You
that's
know
kind of
what?
the question, but
It's a tough one. There is this huge piece of me that loves to teach. When I was a little kid, I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but I don't fit that mold to be like a public school teacher.
yeah.
Absolutely not. So there's this piece of me that really does, like, I crave community. I have a Facebook group where we go through storytelling and all those kinds of things together. So I crave that. But the real creative piece of me is just fully invested when I'm ghostwriting for someone. I just completed a book for a woman in California. She is an expert in the field of self-defense and has this just amazing story and had no idea how to put it together. And so to be able to bring that to the world, to be able to highlight her, just lights me up so much. And to be in that creative process is super fun for me.
So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back because I want to understand like the process that you use when you ghostwrite for someone, because I know with the folks that I have on staff that help me with even like some social media things or doing some writing for landing pages, like they didn't just come right out writing in the same language that I have. So I want to walk through your process. So let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. Let's face it, sometimes as an entrepreneur and a business leader, we need some guidance, support, and community. So we here at The Lit Up Life have 3 ways that you can work with us in order to achieve that. As a private client, we work together to quantum leap your business by discovering strategies to help you move past what's holding you back and allow you to identify what you want your life to look like. The result? Your business becomes the conduit to the lifestyle, success, and impact that you intend. Now, I'm a huge believer in the power of collaboration. So in our community masterminds, you can join in with other high vibrational business owners who want to level up, increase impact, and financial gain, all with a tribe of other women to support and encourage you on your journey. Currently, we're accepting application for this women's mastermind group, which is a year-long program for women in business who are ready for that next level of success. We create deep personal awareness in a safe and supportive space where you can experience growth with others who are on that same path. Through weekly sessions with our program coaches, teachings that go beyond the buzzwords, and immersive retreats in places like Mexico, the Dominican Republic, or Belize, we work together to create long-term abundance and lasting impact in your life and business. The last and final way to get involved with us is our group coaching programs. They provide the opportunity for teaching, masterminding, and feeling like you aren't alone on this ride. Come join us. We are back, and Helen, talking about ghostwriting and helping people get their story out. And so when you work with someone, what's kind of the process that you lead them through? Because you don't know their story. You might have an inkling, but you don't know their tone, their voice, how do you get to know that to be able to because that's an intimate space, right? To take people's
Yes.
voice and put it into a book.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of methods that can be used. I have written stories for people based on their journals that they've given me. I've done, so this latest project that I was talking to you about, there was like an outline there, and then we had to go through some interviews to fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I've actually fully interviewed someone like every week for however many weeks to get the idea. So I work with the idea of pulling the story out of the person and getting their perspective and trying to figure out what the message is, the core message that they want in their book. And mind you, ghostwriting can be also a chapter in a book, or it can be a signature talk that you're going to give. It can be anywhere where you would need that kind of support if you don't feel naturally inclined to do that yourself or too busy. And one of the things that's super helpful for me is the training that I have as a communication coach and trainer. I work with a system through Codebreaker Technologies where I can identify the way someone communicates through their value system. So I can speak in your voice in that manner, but I also can use that system to, as I had said earlier when I introduced myself, I can maximize the message that you're getting out to the world as well by being sure that you're speaking to different value sets that different people have. People hear your message very differently because they listen through a different set of parameters, right? So it's about speaking in the voice that you have, but also reaching an audience that might not necessarily hear the way that you speak. It's a bit of a scientific, it's part of the geek in me that loves this whole scientific thing about brain science. So yeah,
that sounds fascinating. Like we could delve into a whole lot in that. So, okay, so you use this technology, you interview, it reminds me of qualitative research too, right? That's where I nerd out. I think of all these great research projects that if I had the time, I'd go do all this research, right? But when I think about then putting take us through the process. Like, do you help them all the way through publishing? You just write it and then they take care of the rest of that? Like, how does that, because to me, it would feel like we would be so intimate in that it would feel like I'd be severing an arm or something if I then went forward without you helping.
It is a pretty intimate process there. As I said, there has to be a lot of trust in that. And I have worked with people where I've taken it right straight through to publishing. I'm actually talking with another gentleman. Just talked with him this week. He has a really just compelling story that yeah, I won't get into all of the details of it, but I will just say that the book probably won't be finished until after he passes. And he's looking at having the story shopped to agents that would actually take the publishing right to like New York bestseller list. Like that's what he's looking to do in his book. So I can take it right through to that process. You can self-publish. I can publish for you through connections that I have, or I can just provide you with a copy and you go and do with it what you want. There's different ways to approach it, and it all depends on, a lot of it depends on what people want out of the project. So sometimes people want a book just because they want the book. And so they can, self-publish, they can plunk it on Amazon, get an ebook out, something like that. And that's not quite as involved a process as somebody that's going to go through a full publishing house.
Yeah. And you know what I love about this, Helen, is what I'm hearing you say without saying it outright is that you customize it based on whatever your client needs, right? So
Yeah.
if they're a coach like me, there's some coaches I know that they just wanted to get a book out there so that they could have a book as credential. They have some published and printed, they have them as ebooks, they do it all through Amazon, whatever, right? Like that works for people. I also have very good friends that go through a publisher that actually she was asked to write a book for this publisher. Like that's, I think, what every writer dreams of, right? Like a publisher
Yeah.
them and asking them. Um,
Yes.
and has gone through the more what I would consider maybe I don't know that much about the industry, but more of a traditional kind of way. And that's really beautiful to me that you're able to then customize that. You've got that experience, right, from start to finish. And so I want to back up because it sparked something with me, and we might have to have an offline conversation, but around content and talks. Like what I heard you say too, is you could take something that someone is wanting to do, put it into like a talk. So, one of my goals is I speak at numerous events. I'm paid for some not, but I'd like to get on bigger stages. Well, that means also like adding a little more meat to what I'm talking about. And I can get on a podcast, I can stand up in front of a gazillion people and talk about concepts. But then when it talks about my own personal story, sometimes that's different, right? And so what I
Yes.
see, like in this example, is that you would be able to help get that out of me, put it together in something that sounds like me, that feels like me when I would be giving a talk. And I have clients that are breaking into the speaker realm. So that's such a great resource. So it's not just ghostwriting. It's not, when I say just, that's a huge project, but it's not like it seems like you have a diversified way where there's longer projects, but then also some smaller projects that you can help people with that may not have a book or may not have like a company story that they're wanting to do, but just need some help developing some content. Right?
Absolutely. Even something as simple as what I call a story biography. So it's a biography, but I take people through a little bit of a different interview process that results in a really a compilation of business and person altogether. And so even something that simple for someone's website, it can start with that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, and I'm even thinking, putting bios together, like I hate that. And other people, I think, can put other people's bios together so much better, right?
Yeah.
And my marketing gal is so great, and she's a good writer, and so she's done that. But I loved how she also, and that's what I'm hearing you say, because when you go talk somewhere or you're providing a bio for someone, it's important that they not just know the business persona, but that they know who you are. Because I know you and I both, as part of Fem City, we connect with our heart. And I don't know, to me, that's really important. And I feel your heart throughout this whole conversation, right? Like
Oh,
you are
thank you.
in this for service and,
Yes.
money too, but like in this from a service-based piece. So I want to switch gears a little bit and I want to find out, and you can tell me and all the listeners that it's none of my business or stay super high level, however you want to do this. But what prompted you? Because you said you just moved to Ottawa or outside of Ottawa in the small town. You'll tell us what that is, but about a year ago. Where did you come from and what prompted that?
So I was in the GTA. My introduction actually to Fem City was through Lynn Pelzer when she basically opened the local kind of Canadian chapter about, I always say everything needs to be COVID corrected. So it was probably
Right.
about 8 years ago, maybe, something like that. And I was one of the very first members who joined Fem City with her in Toronto and have, been through different the local chapters, and we still had a large collective in the GTA that would meet quarterly. What actually prompted me to leave was COVID. You had to ask. Yeah, it's really opened my eyes to a lot of things with what we've gone through with that process, especially here in Canada. And it prompted me to want to move away from people. And I realized that my business is virtual. I can be anywhere. So I live in a small town. I have a huge backyard. I have a growing, expanding vegetable garden. My real dream would be to like live on a lake and have my own fresh water supply, and maybe even be off grid at some point in my life. But that's what drew me here, and what drew me to this area specifically is because my son lives in Ottawa, and so my youngest daughter, who has Down syndrome, he is her power of attorney after I pass. And so there was always this plan that we were going to live close together so that her whole life wouldn't be uprooted whenever that time comes that I'm no longer here on this realm. And COVID just kind of brought it all forward. I was like, let's get out of here. Let's go. So here I am.
Yeah. Pivotal moments, right? Like those pivotal moments.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
when you say that, I think about my author friend who was sought out by a publisher and her book. So she writes a column for the Spokesman Review in Spokane, Washington. And she wrote a book called All the Things. And it's Amy Midstoke, and it's AMMI. Check it out, because I think she sells through Amazon too, but it's a compilation of her columns, and it talks about living off grid.
Oh, how cool.
She moved off grid. She always says, I have these like great ideas and I get people into great adventures, and then right?
Yeah.
And so it's stories about living off grid with a young daughter, and I think you would enjoy it. So
That's awesome. Thanks for the recommendation. Yes, I'm sure I would enjoy it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so I want to kind of finish up here as we're coming to a close and talking about books. What's the best book that you've read in the last year, or it could just be the best book?
You're taking me down that rabbit hole. In the last year,
I know, I'm always like, I can't just list one.
I know. So I read a book by, okay, I want to just make a note for your listeners. If any of you don't know that RFK is running for the presidency, you need to get on his bandwagon and find out more about Robert Kennedy. He wrote a book called The Real Anthony Fauci. And that was a huge impact for me when I read that book.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then kind of on the same realm, but slightly different, I was laughing a while back because I was doing a recording actually with Violet, who founded FemCity, and we were talking about the platform. And I said, do you remember when we all used to have iPods? And she's like, yeah. Do you remember what was it when you had the cassettes and the little Walkmans?
Oh,
so we were
yes.
Like, if I checked out your iPod or your Walkman, so if we looked at your whatever platforms you listen to, what would you say is your most played song, like your favorite song to listen to?
Oh my goodness. You're gonna laugh. Your audience is gonna be like, wow, who is this person? She's so diverse in all the things she does. So I attend a CrossFit gym, and one of my favorite things to do is listen to like real pounding music when I'm there. And so I would say that the first song that popped into my mind is oh my goodness, I can't even think of the name of it. It's
how's it go? Like hard rock, AC/DC?
It's Kanye West.
Okay.
And it's oh my goodness, that's so funny. I'd have to look it up on my phone. It's all about
it's okay. Everybody look up Kanye West.
Oh my goodness. So he's got a song it's about money. I can't even think of the name of it. That's terrible. Okay. Anyways, anything like that on that's got like a real heavy beat. So, I mean, definitely rock music works too, but I like ones that have like a little bit of hip hop kind of mixed in. So
yeah, nice. Okay.
That's so sad that I drew a blank. Sorry to your audience.
No worries at all. No worries at all. So, Helen, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, find out more about what you do, potentially even inquire about working with you, where would you send them? And then this will also be in the show notes for folks.
For sure. Probably the easiest thing is to go to my link tree. It's got free courses that I offer. There's downloads, different things like that. And there's a get to know you call in there. You can also find me on Instagram, Facebook, Helen Harwood Snell. I'm there. LinkedIn too.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Helen, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. And it's been a pleasure to get to know more about you, what you do, and how you show up in the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. It's lots of fun.
Yeah, and with that, folks, it's a wrap. We'll see you next week. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.
See the